Imagine losing a loved one, your wife, your husband, a parent, maybe a friend, or even worse, a child. And 1 week after the funeral, you receive a phone call from someone pretending to be someone that empathizes with you. But in reality, it is a salesperson grabbing this opportunity to take advantage of your loss, your grief, and try to sell you a funeral insurance. Wouldn't that be awful? It is awful, and it happens. I have seen it happen. I was there. And to explain that, I have to go back in time. When I was a young child, I was often called a born salesperson. I don't know why. I assume that it was because I am great at explaining things or using humor or connecting with other kids. But they say that to a kid. Hey, pay attention, it's a born salesperson. And I heard it a lot. And I remember that eventually I started to believe it. It was some kind my destiny. And I remember as a kid, I dreamed about having my own business, which is strange. Normally kids dream of being a firefighter, a policeman, or a doctor. But I dreamed about having my own business. And I decorated my room like that too. I made my home office. So I put my desk in front of facing the door. And there were 2 chairs for customers or for employees. And in the closet behind me, there were a lot of folders and files. They were empty, but in my imagination, they were full of important documents. And then I had an old telephone on my desk. It was an old telephone which you really had to dial. Who remembers a phone like that? Okay, there's diversity in the audience, great. So it was an old phone I got from my grandmother. She didn't achieve to sell it at the flea market, so I got it as a gift for my birthday. Great gift. But I put it on my desk, and voila, that was even my way of studying for school. I had some troubles learning, studying. I didn't like it. But if I did it like that, so I imagined that I had an important meeting full of important people, and I had to present my school lessons to them. May sound a little strange, but it worked for me. And some years later, after my high school, I had to choose what I was going to study. And I chose to study journalism. I don't know if it was the best choice, but at that moment I was really attracted by the TV studios, the radio studios, and the well-known famous TV personalities who were our teachers. And it was lots of fun. But after my studies, I had to find a job. And I live in Flanders Fields, in the city called Messines. That is the smallest city of Belgium. And if you live in Messines, I really like living there. It's a beautiful region. I wouldn't want to leave for whatever amount of money. But it's very far away from everything. So if you want to do a job in journalism, yeah, I was not really in the right region. So I had to find a job. But what? And then I realized, hey, there is my calling. I was destined to be a salesperson. I was a born salesperson. So I started looking in the newspaper. Yeah, that's how it worked before. You had to find a job in the newspaper. And I found a job in telemarketing. Telemarketing specified in the insurance business. And according to the ad, they were going to train me to become a true commercial miracle. And I won't say that I learned nothing. I learned a lot there because, like, if you are on the phone, you don't have a pretty face, beautiful eyes, or a great costume or whatever. On the phone, you only have your breathing, the content of what you are saying, and your smile. It is true. So that are the only things you have on the phone. So you really have to think about how you communicate with people. And it was fun to do in the beginning. There were easy campaigns. There were also more challenging campaigns, like prospecting on businesses to do an audit of the insurance policies. But I got my results. I got good results. But I started to become someone that I am not. Let me give you an example. There was a campaign we had to do, the campaign where I talked about before. So we got lists from funeral companies. We had lists with people who lost someone in the past few days or weeks. And we had to call those people and bring this message, of course, not in those exact words, but between the lines, it was the same message. Hey, I heard you lost your husband 2 weeks ago. Is that true? We really empathize with you. We feel so sorry for you. But now you know how much a funeral costs. And I guess you want to spare your loved ones from that burden. So maybe it's a good idea that we discuss a funeral insurance. Isn't that horrible? I felt so awful. Where were the ethics in that? And I started asking myself, is this what I want? For the first time in my life, I had the impression that I was doing something that I didn't want to do. But okay, I continued because I was in the early 20s. It was my first job, a company that invested time and money in my personal development. So I was a good boy and I did what they asked. But I really didn't like it. And a few moments later, I quit the job. I outgrew the company. And I was thinking, hey, enough telemarketing. Now I'm going to go into real sales because I was a born salesperson. And I tried a few sales jobs, but I didn't get any results. And I asked myself, how is that possible? I didn't have any good results because I was predestined to do sales. If I'm not good at sales, what am I going to do with my life? So I started panicking. And I tried to follow any training, sales training, seminar, webinar that I could attend. I bought every book about sales, communication, negotiation, everything I could afford. And I tried these sales techniques, but I didn't get any good results. The contrary, the results even got worse. So I was asking myself, how is this possible? And I started even panicking more. And you know, all the books that I read, almost all the books I read, were about, it was like war language. Like the customer is some kind of prey you have to hunt. You have to hunt it into a corner. When you say this or that, the customer is in his corner and he cannot escape anymore. I was asking myself, is this sales? Is this what I was predestined for? Is that what I really want to do? And then I found this book, Talk Like TED, by Carmen Gallo. And that was actually my first introduction into TED Talks. And I started watching TED Talks on the internet, on YouTube. And I truly believed these people. It was fun or interesting listening to those people. And I remember that I was asking myself, I was wondering, what makes me believe these people? What makes that I believe them? What makes that I like listening to them? What keeps pulling my attention? Is it what they say? Is it the way they say it? Is it the mimics, the costume? What is it? But there was something pure. And I saw a lot of diversity. One was more energetic. Another was more calm. Some used humor. Some were more serious. And then I found it. I said, everyone is authentic. They are all different people who do things in their proper way. Maybe I should do the same. And I started asking myself, who am I? What is my style? What is the way that I want to help people? Which people do I want to help? Do I want to help people? And I remember at that moment, I was working at the largest Apple premium reseller of the country. And I said, you know what, screw it. I will just be myself. I have amazing products. There's a lot of people I can help with it. I'm enthusiastic about it. And when I want to use humor or when I want to use energy, I will do it. I will do everything I can, like they are all my best friends and I want to help them. And I started having genuine, fun conversations, good conversations. I started making connections with people. I gave fun demos. I really had fun. Fun demos, presentations. I even gave courses to customers. It was so much fun. And people started liking me. People even started specifically asking for me. And that was the moment that I said, hey, authenticity works. I had searched so much, what can I do to improve myself? And I tried and I tried and I tried. And the only thing that I was missing was me, myself, my own authenticity. And then a new moment came to learn. I became a manager, first a team manager, then sales manager. So I was responsible for all the sales teams and the managers in the country. And there was a new learning moment. I had to learn a new skill, leadership. I thought that leadership was something that came standard for me. I thought I really would be a good leader. But one challenge followed another. It was not that easy. And again, I had this moment that I felt failed, that I asked myself, am I going in the right direction? And again, I was lucky because the company invested a lot in people, in personal development. So again, I was allowed to do some trainings. But again, in those trainings, they taught me how and who I had to be. But I reused the strategy that worked before. I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to learn all the strategies, theories, models, skills, and I am going to put them into my authenticity, in my style, in my way of doing things. And again, things started going well. I remember that I was really the leader that I would like to have, And being authentic, you don't always get a medal for being authentic. Sometimes being authentic is lonely. But please accept this advice or maybe motivation. It is not because you think there is no appreciation for you or you think that there is no admiration for you, that it's not there. We all have people, teachers, family, friends, or other people that meant something to us when we were a kid or when we were a teenager. A teacher that learned us something, that learned us skills or gave us knowledge or that gave us hope or courage or motivation or self-belief, self-esteem. We all have people like that. And if you ask yourself the question, have I thanked this person for that? Often the answer is no. So again, it's not because you don't feel the appreciation or admiration that it is not there. I remember when I left the company after 10 years, I thought that there are a lot of people who will be happy that I'm gone. I was a manager, and you have great managers, and I was between, I think. So I thought a lot of people would be happy that I'm gone. But instead I got messages. Thank you so much. You meant this or that for me. You believed in me. You were the most approachable person when I had problems or you were the most approachable person to go to. You learned me a lot of things. You believed in me from the first moment of my application to your last day, and I really appreciate that. I got a lot of such messages, and I don't say this to brag. I say this, there are a lot of people who had such messages for me, but maybe there are a lot of people who have such messages for you too. So the thing I want to say, let me take us back to my destiny. Now I am for sure that I am a born salesperson. Everyone is a born salesperson. Everyone can be a born leader. If we realize that the one thing that truly allows us to connect to people is something that we are born with, our authenticity, there's a lot of things we can do. And I even have a new destiny. Because in businesses, we hire people because we like them, or we trust them, or we believe in their capabilities, in their competences. And then we send them to a training where we learn them how to be or how to say or what to say. So we learn them how to be. And that is something that doesn't get into my head. Last time I had a apprentice that came to me and he said, I am so sorry, but I'm not a real salesperson. So he was apologizing to me for not being a good salesperson. And I asked him, what do you mean by that? Yeah, apparently, he said, I am too introverted. I said, too introverted? How can you be? Never apologize for who you are and how you are. Too introverted. Everyone can be a good salesperson. And that's my new mission. I really want to help people learn business skills, but within their own authenticity, their own style. So if I think back to that funeral, you know, the funeral where someone calls pretending to be someone that cares about you. Well, at that moment, I was that person and I hated it. So the last funeral I want to take advantage of is my own funeral, the funeral of the old me. The funeral of the one that believes that you have to pretend or follow someone else's script. I remember an amazing quote. I don't like a lot of quotes, but that's one that I read that I have kept in mind forever. And it was a quote of Steve Jobs. And he said, life is short, so don't waste it living someone else's life. And that applies in a lot of things we do in life, private life and professional. So I want to end with a question to you. Where in your life have you not been your true self? And what are you going to do with that? The world doesn't need another copy. The world needs you. There's a part in the world that needs you. So show the world who you are. You can be really amazing. Thank you. Thank you.